Wow.
Thank you everyone for coming tonight. I'm so glad to see so many faces. Will you all rise and join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lynn, can you call roll?
Mr. Burke?
Here.
Mr. Hand?
Yep.
Mr. Grover?
Here.
Mrs. Sullivan? Here. Ms. Wozniak? Mrs. Vanderwater?
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the organizational meeting as well as the regular meeting on January 1st, 2025?
I'll make that motion. I'll second it.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Mike. Any questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. So we have on our agenda any citizens' comments. This is where you want to talk about something other than the public hearing. Is there anybody wishing to address the board on any other matter? We'll pass that off. I'm going to move number 3 up to now. So given that it's after 7 o'clock, can I get a meeting to adjourn the regular meeting and enter into public hearing?
I'll make a motion. I'll second.
Motion made by Roger, seconded by Bob. Any questions, comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So thank you everyone for coming out tonight. It's a big night for everyone, and we're going to really make sure we listen to everyone's comments and take your comments under consideration. We're going to start the public hearing off with a presentation from the developer. Dan Barnabas here. He has some slides on the TV. We have maps listed or posted up over here for you guys to view. And then when Dan's done with his presentation, we will open the floor up for comments. Dan, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I don't think I'll need the microphone, but if somebody can't hear, just signal or something, I'll try to speak up. My name is Dan Barnaba. I'm the owner and president of Eldon Homes. Eldon Homes has been in business for approximately 50 years, or approaching 50 years, and we've been land developers and home builders that entire time. We're responsible for 30 some odd communities, I don't know the exact count, throughout Onondaga County, mainly in Cicero, Clay, Lysander, Van Buren, Manlius, Salina, and we've been responsible for the construction of well over 1,000 homes. I'm a graduate of Baldwinsville, class of '84. I take a great deal of pride when I get an opportunity to do my work and build homes for people in the Baldwinsville School District and in the towns of Lysander and Van Buren. I've lived in both towns at one point or another. So I'm very sensitive to how you feel about your community, and hopefully you'll see that in our presentation. I want to reflect a little bit about the Harbor Heights project. I assume some of you are here, are very familiar with it. It's been one form of development, probably going all the way back to the 70s. I don't know the exact date, but one of the slides we have here, the first one, is what the zoning map in the town of Van Buren looked like, probably sometime around the mid-70s. The zoning code in your ordinance hadn't been fully developed. There were very few zoning classifications. There was an R15 classification for lots 15,000 square feet or larger, and there were agricultural districts. And I don't know if this slide can zoom in or out, but if it were to zoom out, you would see that almost all of Van Buren, probably 80 or 90% of it, was probably one large agricultural district. And there wasn't much by way of major subdivisions, probably in the 70s. Harbor Heights was probably one of the first major subdivisions. I have some maps that I would be very interesting to put up, but it's a little cumbersome to get them all up on here. But if you ever saw some of the original land plans and designs for Harbor Heights, it was going to be sort of a boating community, and there were designs for multifamily homes, many attached homes, many single-family homes, and I think they contemplated probably 1,100, 1,200 housing units at one time or another. Your town has those maps. I think I left some with the codes office, and I have some here. And if anybody ever wants to see those things, they're very interesting. I'm sure that as a combination of economic circumstances, perhaps a slow economy in the 70s, and limits associated with utilities, probably sewer systems, sewer infrastructure, caused the project to stall. And that's why you see a lot of this R15 housing and some of the street was put in at that time, but then not much happened with it for quite a while after that. If you will go to the next slide, you'll see a zoning map that came into being probably sometime in '97. Number 2.
Having some technical difficulties. It's on this TV right here. For some reason it stopped. There, hold on. Sorry.
So this zoning map was coincident with sort of an effort in the town and the town leadership to develop more zoning classifications. So they were in the process of adding different classifications to their zoning code. And one of the most significant classifications they added was the code R40. And it was also an effort perhaps made to identify where future growth in the town of Lysander would be. And it would be where there was already growth and where there was infrastructure. Some of you are aware that there's a pump station located down sort of at the base of Comain Road. And sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s, significant investment was made into that pump station and to the sewer system, the sewer lines, going in and out of the pump station to increase the capacity. And our company learned of that in late 1990s, early 2000s, and we began to buy some of the Harbor Heights property. And we bought this first section of property that's labeled R40. And we, between 2004 and probably 2012, that property was developed into probably approximately 150 building lots. And you're going to see a little further into this presentation the exact lot count that was involved. And that project, like any project with a significant number of home sites, you're going to go through ups and downs in the economy. Some years sales are going to go fast, some years sales are going to go slow. We managed to finish the project despite the fact that there was quite an economic downturn beginning in '09 and lasting until about 2012.
You mentioned that the pump station is in the town of Lysander?
No, I'm sorry, it's in the town of
It's in Van Buren.
Sorry. So what I can say with some certainty is that the pump station was sized because growth was contemplated in that area. You can go back, Tom, to the second one. There you go. So as your zoning code evolved, the regs, the map evolved, but the regs evolved. Next slide I'm going to show you is the code for R40, and that's the code I'm showing you is as it's actually written today. R40 is a residence district. The purpose is to allow low-density residential and supporting non-residential development within the suburban portions of the town on sites that are not generally served by public water and sewer. It is intended to be a transitional district with zone changes to higher density districts as necessary public improvements are constructed. And those improvements were constructed in the late 90s, early 2000s. One thing I'll say is that because the property is zoned residential, a landowner already has the right to put infrastructure into the property and to develop home sites on the project. That's not something that would be accomplished with this board. We would go through a subdivision approval process with your planning board, and then there's some town board interaction at the end of that process. But a street layout is designed, home sites are designed that meet the restrictions within R40, but it's wasn't contemplated by this code. Although your code allows it, the way this is written, if single-family housing is going to be developed, it contemplates higher density districts. Now we're going to try the next figure. You can zoom out just a little bit on that, Tom. Tom's a new code officer. I appreciate your help with this. So this is your current zoning map, and what I'm showing you is what I believe are all the major subdivisions that have been approved in the town of Van Buren over the course of about the last 20 years. And this is the existing Harbor Heights project. This is the Harbor Heights project that Eldon Homes developed between 2004 and 2012, I would say. It was 82 acres, 147 units. Am I blocking everybody's ability to see? You're fine. 147 units, about 1.8 units per acre. Net density number may have been a little bit higher. There's a very large pond in the back of the project that was not disturbed. And that subdivision was approved as a PUD. A zone change was granted over an existing R40 district. Shortly after that, the Sun Meadows project was an R40 district that was approved as a PUD, 137 units, 2.2 units per acre. Sometime after that, the Marion Gardens community was approved. It was in an R40 district. It was approved as a PUD, 48 acres, 153 units, 3.2 units per acre. And then after that, the Traybrook subdivision was approved. Again, an R40 district, approved as a PUD, 87 acres, 165 units, 1.9 units per acre. When this process started, we were referred to the planning board to apprise the project. After some appearances before the planning board, we got their feedback. And the planning board, for consistency reasons, suggested that the front parcel that we're here to discuss tonight would be better zoned R15 to be consistent with the property to the north, as opposed to perhaps a PUD. And so that's the only real difference. The density calculations are about the same. A PUD would probably allow slightly more units on the project because we could go with slightly smaller lots. But if the zone change is granted to R15, the starting point at the design stage would be about 25 home sites. And we'll show you some concept plans a little bit further along. But you'll see the density that we're requesting, or that the R15 would allow, would be consistent with the density that's been granted every other time a major subdivision has been approved and constructed in the town of Van Buren. So we're asking for basically the same as what's been done for the last 20 years, and what would be consistent with the R40 regs. We'll probably get back to this if anybody wants to get back to this later this evening. I'm going to show you a land use study. There's an awful lot of information in your town clerk's office, and she's happy to help you out if you want to see some of this. A land use study was done in the 60s, very extensive, very thick book. And as I went through it, I thought it was very interesting how the firm that did the study evaluated what they considered density. They said 3 to 4 units per acre is low density, 5 to 6 units per acre is medium density, and although the 15,000 square foot lots is in the low density, 3 to 4 units per acre, the site is more like estate residential. They were getting closer to 2 units per acre. But when the land use study was done and they contemplated Van Buren growing, they had a lot more density in mind and much smaller home sites. Thought that was just an interesting slide. We'll move on to the next one. This is a concept plan. We're very careful to get too attached to the layout because a lot of things can change. The subdivision process requires a lot of input, environmental input, engineering input, And we don't undertake a lot of that work until we get past this step. And when we start that work, we more clearly identify obstacles. There may be wetland obstacles that we have to deal with. There may be constraints as far as where a road entrance could go, either on Downer Street or on Coming Road. I know on this project there's a power line that bisects the property, so we'll have to adjust the lot shapes. And at different points along the way, sometimes we have to concede that we aren't going to end up with the exact lot count that we have on a concept plan. So it really is just a concept plan. If a zone change is granted, we go to the planning board, and then we begin a series of meetings there where we actually hone in on the actual shape and the length of the road. The other request we have before the board tonight is to take advantage of regulation that they've had on the books. Town has had on the books for quite some time. It's called your clustering regs. And what the cluster regs allow a developer to do is very similar to what the PUD zoning allows you to do, which is to differentiate or vary the lot depths and the shapes and sizes. The R15 ordinance requires the lots to be 90 feet wide. The next slide that we're going to show you is the same number of lots, but the lots are anywhere from 84 to 75 feet wide. And the only modification we're showing here is perhaps that we're putting in less road, which is an advantage for the developer and an advantage for the town, less road they have to maintain. But it also may give us an opportunity to put a stormwater basin in place so we can manage stormwater. And the other thing we can do if we adjust the lot sizes is we can account for the power lines once we identify how they bisect the property by maybe squeezing the lots over one way or another. We also may have some latitude as far as where this entrance is, whether it's moved closer to Downer Street so we can create deeper yards and more of a buffer to the existing homes, or if it has to be a certain distance off of Downer Street because of highway regulations, we could start and then begin to bend the road to move it back closer to Downer Street after you enter. But a lot of those considerations we really aren't in a position to make until we get further along with engineering and environmental. The last slide I have here is probably something that the town board members may be familiar with, your code office and your town attorney. It's the purpose of cluster regulation. Cluster development may be requested to enable and encourage flexibility of design and development of land in such a manner as to promote the appropriate use of the land. And there's some language there about being more economical about streets and hopefully preserving green space, which is what would be our intent, is to hopefully make the lots that back up the lanyard as deep as possible, so we can perhaps put a conservation easement or something on the back of the property to keep the trees in place. Go back to the bigger slide, I suppose. Maybe we could just zoom in on this area right here. So in the interest of full disclosure, Eldon Homes has ownership of about 11.9 acres or something to that effect right here, and ownership of this parcel and this parcel, which are about another 30 acres, with frontage on Downer, frontage on Coming Road West, and there's actually, you can't really see it on this map, but there's a sliver of property that goes between two of the existing home sites to get access to Coming Road. And we've done some concept plan work on this parcel as well, but that's not in front of the board. This time, we're at the planning board on that. We'll come back to the town board. And that's all I have off the top of my head. I'm sure some things will come up, and I'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have.
Thanks, Dan. So I know the board members had some questions, so Bob, do you want to start?
if you're gonna put that many homes in there, have you considered drainage due to the fact that we have an issue along Comaine? And I'm just wondering what your thoughts are as to not being able to dump that water onto Comaine and have it race down that long hill.
It's a good question, and I'll tell you what we tell every town. We have to consider drainage on every project that we do. Part of the process of the approval is there's a lot of engineering work that's done. We have to show our work. We're graded by your town engineer. He tells us whether we've done a good job or not. Sometimes he tells us that we have to make some changes. But the standard for development is very consistent throughout the state. We can't allow the water to leave our site any faster than it's already leaving the site. And it has to be in the same condition when it leaves the site as it is today. In other words, if we're not disturbing any ground and clean water is leaving the site, the water that leaves our site has to be clean. So what we do is we'll be building a pond, perhaps more than one pond, and those ponds will detain the water, and then the water will slowly be released so it leaves the site at the same pace that it's leaving the site now. And that's how you make sure that we're not going to ever contribute to a flood event that might not already occur. We can't control that. It may occur now. I don't know the site that well. But we would not be a contributor. And our engineer, our design engineer, and your engineer would hopefully assure that. On a rare occasion that we discover a problem that got past everybody, we believe we're good corporate citizens, and we would come back, and if it needs to be re-engineered and addressed, that's what we would do.
The one other thing that I have and a concern, and I'm sure a lot of people would have the same concern, is just going, that would be west, you're coming up that hill from Route 31, there is a little bit of a blind spot that's there. And I think a lot of people would be concerned where you come into that Commerce or Comaine, when you're gonna pull, granted you're gonna have another exit out on the downer, but I think that might be an issue.
So another factor that we have to take into consideration, because road cuts require permission and the subdivision approval is contingent on that. I'll say this, that every parcel owner, every property owner is entitled to one road cut. And we also find that having multiple ways in and out are important. Whether that access is here, we can't say until we get to that stage in the engineering. Ideally, we would like more than one way in and out, and hopefully we would find the best connection point. Obviously, people are already coming out here now.
Yes.
And that would suggest that that would be the way to go, although this may offer a better sight line. We haven't investigated that yet. If we have to, we do traffic studies, we get a traffic engineer involved, and I'm assuming Downer Street, I don't know if that's a county or a state road at that point, but the agency responsible for that road would be the one we would have to get permission for as far as where the cut occurs.
I understand that, yeah.
How much speed reduction there?
As a developer, I don't have any control.
No, I'll rest at this point for the other board members.
Jen?
So Dan, tell me a little bit about the R40s is basically a lot of the property in Van Buren in the original state that was an R40. Tell me what the benefit is for changing from an R40 to an R15 on that 12 acres.
More homes.
More homes.
More homes.
I think
If
she
you're
meant,
gonna,
What would
I
it
think
be-
she meant-
Hang on. I'm sorry. What would it be for the town for the town and the community would be for more homes in our area? Is that what you're saying? The benefit
I don't understand. What's
So
the
the
benefit?
benefit-
What's the benefit for the town?
for changing would be just for adding more homes, just like.
More fabulous residents.
Excellent. So,
Just like all the fabulous residents that moved in here.
so tell me a little bit about these homes that you're going to develop. on those 12 acres, do you have a size in mind or a cost point?
So I'm going to have to speak in generalities
That's fine.
because we're not at the stage where we do that. I can tell you, I can just give you some industry specifics, okay? I can sit here and say that I can offer affordable homes and people would appreciate that. There's very little affordable about a new home. New homes are expensive. Everything in this neighborhood is probably going to be north of $350,000, probably many of the homes over $400,000. And that's just because it's almost impossible in new construction to build a home, a 1,400 square foot ranch or a 2,100 square foot colonial. It's going to be under $400,000. For the cost of putting the infrastructure in, we're talking about building lots that are $70,000 each. But that doesn't mean that the homes aren't contributing to home ownership in the town, because home ownership is a pyramid. And as people are buying more expensive homes, they're moving out of less expensive homes, which are giving opportunities for other people to buy those homes. And so we have a function as a home builder, even if we're building single family homes, to create home ownership opportunities up and down that pyramid. But it would be impossible to get, using our construction methods, below $350,000, $375,000 in there.
So how many homes are you looking at putting right there, 25?
The concept plan shows 25. When I lay out a plan like that, it's usually +1 -3. That's usually the margin of error. So it could be as little as 22, it could be add one more. It really depends. The zoning, if it's zoned R15, it's basically math. I take 15,000 square feet, I divide it into the area, the shape, that's how many I can get. I can't have it anymore because they just won't fit.
Okay, I got one more question for you, Dan. So the last time that you had met in front of us, I had asked, and I think somebody had asked this before, are these going to be single dwelling homes that you were putting on these lots?
So what I'm contemplating, and I have to, again, full disclosure, I'm trying to make sure that nobody accuses us of not giving you the big picture. We don't always build all these homes. When we did this community, we invited another builder in, and the other builder built a significant number of these homes. And our company isn't building 30, 40, 50 homes a year anymore, and pace is very important. So I can't say that I'm going to build them all. Our homes would be single-family homes. Your R15 ordinance allows two-family homes. And that applies not only to what these lots would be, but if any of these existing homeowners wanted to suddenly convert their home into a two-family, they could do it by right. It's in the code. So if somebody wants to make an in-law suite and start renting one of these out, they could. And if that's something that concerns the board, I suggest you amend your code. But we're doing that product, or we're about to build that product beginning this year in another town. But we believe that there's a market for that. I can't say that that's going to happen here. Eldon Homes at the moment seems to be the only building company on Dyke Road that's contemplating that product. The other builders that I do business with, or that I know through my trade association, isn't currently building that product. We want a two-level home where primary resident might live on one floor, and then the secondary resident could be an aging parent, it could be a child that'll be with them for life, or it could be a young couple that the only way they can afford the home is that they can rent out a part of the home so that they can cover the mortgage payment. And this is a product that we're hoping to develop in other towns.
Is that what you're doing here?
We haven't decided. When we went to the planning board, and I should reiterate, when we went to the planning board, we had a 7-0 vote in favor recommending the zone change. One of the members expressed some concern about two-family, mainly about vehicle and parking and things like that. We try to read the room, meaning the market. Is there a market for it? And in your town, would people want that product? And is there an appetite for it among the people that grant the approvals? I'd rather not put a restriction on the approval, but it could be discussed.
Okay, got one more question. What are the other developers that you have worked with in Harbor Heights? And are they going to be the same developers that you might possibly be working with at this location?
You mean builders?
Builders, sorry, developers, builders.
So the other builder is no longer in Syracuse, Ryan Homes. They left about 4 or 5 years ago. And I don't know what their intentions are, if they would come back. It's not a company I'm doing business with right now. The only other company that I've talked to about this project is a company called Cornerstone Homes. It's co-owned by Mike Bragman Jr. and Kent Eshelman. And they're currently building about 30 or 40 homes a year in the towns of Clay, Cicero, and or Onondaga, wherever, I think Onondaga.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Roger, any comments?
So the R40, you'll end up with less homes than the R15?
Potentially. There's other ways to request density from a town. We could ask for variances and things of that nature. One of the biggest differences in your zoning between the R15 and the R40, and your zoning code is a little unique. I found little tidbits in there that I didn't expect to find. In your R40 zone, you're allowed to build attached homes. So we could build duplexes or a series of attached homes, which could have an impact on how many homes we could have on the lot. Our preference is to build single-family detached, but we've built detached homes in the past.
And then you were talking about the buffer with the woods behind. Would you do that on Downer Street also?
Well,
like their backyards?
These backyards.
Yeah.
Well, but my first thought, to be was to be as considerate to the people on Lanyard as I could. As far as Downer's concerned, once we learn a little bit more about the topography, it may be treed. In other words, we may replant, or we may do a berm, something like that. As far as space involved to leave it natural, I really have to see the engineering and see how much planting and filling we have to do on the site. Because I think it's rather low already up against the road, so it may need to be built up a little bit.
And I don't like the idea of coming out on Comain Road. Is there a possibility of a cul-de-sac there? My daughter got in a really bad accident when she used to live on Comain, coming out of there, and I just...
Coming out of one of these other streets?
Coming out of Comain, onto Downer.
Well, coming out here?
Yeah, and it's scared visibility point.
So some of our restrictions on what we can do would be found within your subdivision regs, your highway regs, and what type of relief your various boards would be willing to offer. Because a cul-de-sac is rather bulbous and may not fit, but we could do a T, like a dead-end turnaround. Mm-hmm. So there's options, but they have to be, some of them require permission.
I think that's all I have.
Mike?
So if we were to turn down your R15, you have to have given some thought to what you would do with the R40, and everybody here probably would be interested in what that would look like if you were working with it at R40.
I feel like I'm going to send it here, and that's a hypothetical. We build houses. We build roads. We build houses. We would build houses. And that's what would happen. I mean, unless the next commercial user came along and said, Dan, tough luck, I really like your property, I think we're going to put a bunch of commercial here. I've always, in my experience with residents and with boards, is commercial's more impactful than residential. So what we're talking about is the least impactful use to that property that you can have. It's just a matter of how many units and how much green we can preserve. But a road would go there and houses would go there.
Anything else, Mike?
No, I think that's it.
Again, Dan, thank you for that opportunity to ask those questions. I'm going to now open the hearing to those people who would like to speak in favor of the development, or for the zone change, sorry. And how this is gonna go, I really want to try to limit everyone's response to 5 minutes. That is a really long time if you think about it. And I'm gonna ask for people to come up speaking against, or for it, and then those coming up speaking against it. So when you come up, you're going to come to the microphone, you're gonna state your name and your address, and then you have 5 minutes to speak. I would ask you to direct questions to the board and not to Dan, and if there are some questions, you can ask us, and if we don't know the answer, we will ask Dan and we'll get you the answer. So, with that being said, is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this zone change?
I would.
Come on up to the microphone.
My name is Louis Geckel. I'm at 16 Fisherman's Creek. And I would have my main question would be, is there any subsidized residents going into this development?
Dan, do you anticipate any subsidized housing? So, sir, are you in favor of the zone change?
Well, that's my question before I give you.
Okay.
No, we don't build subsidized housing.
There will be no subsidized housing in that.
Well, then the way I see it is it's a positive because Dan could go and sell the property and then someone could come in and do a lot of subsidized residences and housing that is going to be more dense and not as dense as here, and we may not have the right people we want in our town.
Okay, thank you.
That's why I'm here.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else like to speak in favor of the zone change? I'm going to ask just one more time. Anyone would like to speak in favor of the zone change? Okay, hearing none. Anyone like to speak against the zone change? Come on up. Come on up.
I got a list. I don't think I need the mic. Everybody can hear me all right?
Okay.
My name is Paul Schmidt. I live at 23 Comaine, right on the corner of Comaine. So I've put my thoughts together here for the last couple of months. I've been to a couple of these meetings. So I've got questions. So main one for this upper part of the development is the water runoff. A few years ago, the neighborhood underwent a drainage project because several of our neighbors had annual flooding in their backyards and basements. Because the water still flows downhill, like it does, towards that area, how will the builder divert or protect the lower areas of the neighborhood? There is a natural flow across 31 into that section, and we had to pay for it the first time, and I don't think we should have to pay for it again. Second, wildlife. There's some wildlife that exists in the area at the top of the neighborhood. Will the animals be relocated, or will they just be left to scatter and become someone else's nuisance? Setback. What guarantees will the folks along Lanyard Lane have as to a livable setback between this new section and their section? Traffic. I figure this is a big one, and a couple of people have mentioned it as well. The proposed entrances off of Route 31 in Comaine will cause accidents, especially the Comaine one. I think it's too close to the corner, and none of us have seen any data or studies on that are going to show that this is not going to be a problem. And then the next one would be, I would be allowed duplexes in the plan. And then taxes. How much will the rest of our taxes increase due to the additional services necessary for the proposed section? I, for one, did not move here to have my taxes increase significantly. The rest of us did not ask for this and should not have to pay for the new houses. And then I have some more questions on the next section when that goes in, but I made up extra copies here for things for you guys to ponder before we just go ahead and do all of this. Thank you. So, just my thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Dan, you have no intent to put duplexes in there under an R15, right?
So let me clarify a couple of industry terms. Your R40 zoning allows duplexes. What we consider a duplex is a home that's built with a common wall, a firewall, to protect two owners. Owner on one side, owner on other. Each has their own property. They own what their building footprint sits on. What your R15 code allows is two-family. And a two-family is a structure that's got one owner, but two residents within the structure. So they're almost the same. You could be talking about two-family units, either side by side or up and down. But in the case of the two-family, it's one owner, as opposed to a duplex, there are two owners. So your R40 code allows duplexes, and perhaps even more, triples, quads. I haven't been looking at your code. Your R15 zone allows two-family. I don't envision either. I've made my pitch on the two-family. I think there's a market for that. I think that most of it will be single-family detached, just like what you've got.
Mike?
Good.
Everybody hear me? Mike Meyer, I live at 144 Comaine Road.
I think we'll have to have you on the microphone because we can't. Sorry about that.
I bought out on Comaine Road in 1986. I've been there a long time. And the reason we moved to that part of Van Buren is because it's rural. I think everybody here kind of like that, to be away from all the, the housing is real close together and packed in there. And I think a lot of these people here, we all voted for you guys. And we're all, this neighborhood that's going to be new is going to be like all of us. Mr. Mr. Barnabas doesn't live in our neighborhood. I'm sure that he's, probably farther apart in his neighborhood or whatever. But we all voted for you guys. It's obvious we don't want the zone change, and I would hope that you could protect us in that. I mean, we like it rural. I see no advantage to us that live there right now for a zone change. Can you tell an advantage to the people that live there right now? Do you have anything?
I don't have any comment.
Okay.
Thanks.
I agree.
Do you want to answer that question?
Dan, do you want to speak on
Well, I would say that some of the residents don't remember, I lived on Comaine Road for almost 2 years. So I lived on that street. I know what your life is like there.
2 years? I've been there 35 years.
I've been there 28.
I didn't want to make a contest out of it. I was just saying that I lived there for 2 years. And sometimes when we encounter problems related to off-site issues, if the town engineer brings those to our attention while we're developing our community, we'll do our best to try to alleviate those problems, to accommodate those. Hopefully it's not forgotten, but when we came in here the first time, we contributed the land for a town park that I'm told gets an awful lot of use. And we took a road that perhaps some people liked the way that it was never paved and it was maybe difficult to get in and out of, and it was privately maintained. And we took Comaine Road and we made it a public road all the way around, really opening up the access to the community and probably increasing the values of a lot of the homes that are on the water. But that's debatable.
Comaine Road all around is not public.
Correct.
So where you're pointing is still private.
Our original road improvement took place around where the pump station was. The public road ended about at that spot.
Correct.
And then we brought it all the way around and made the attachment over here.
Correct.
And this is the land that was donated to contribute to the park. And we gave the town a choice between either parkland or sewer connections to the septic system, and the town decided that they preferred the park. So we were contributing to things beyond just homes.
Janet?
I'll use the mic because I can't talk very loud. All right, I'm Janet Rasback. I am at 24 Comaine Road. I've been here 37 years, and I am well aware of Mr. Barnaba. We, husband and I, we're not for the original, not the original, we're the original, the second part of Harbor Heights, so there's, no, that's full disclosure, but it works. But the reason I got a question for the board. If we have zoning, why do we change it every time a builder comes in and wants to build? That's my first question. The other question I have is for Mr. Barner, but I'm going to go that way with it, is what percentage of Eldon Home did he really build in the second section of Harbor Heights? Because he will say, he does say stuff, and he's very good at what he says, but what he says and what actually can happen are two different things, and were two different things 20-some years ago. Now, the other reasons why I'm against this is, most people know our house is a house that flooded when there was a drainage issue. And yes, it's been fixed to the best of the ability of this town. Will it stay that way? I don't know. I don't want another flooded house. I don't. There's a congestion issue, there's the increase in, I'm trying to make this quick, okay? There's the increase in taxes. It may not be an increase in taxes, but it's more sewer, it's more water, it's more swale update, or whatever you call it, maintenance, the school, it's all of that. I'm not for it, bottom line. Planning board only gives their approval for the legality. That's been reamed into me a while now, so all the planning board is saying is yes, it can legally be done. It is not saying that it's a good idea. Maybe they think it is, maybe they don't. I don't know. And totally honest with you, with Mr. Barnaba, I don't have anything good to say. And I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sheila Johnson, 114 Main Road. Just because you can do it doesn't mean you should do it. We all know this neighborhood, especially those along the line. I was one of the ones affected by the original Main Road. I didn't want it. I liked the private road. That's why we bought it. I still have my little teeny tiny summer home down there. It's never going to be sold. That's my lifestyle. That's what I wanted. I don't need a $300,000 house. This little house will be in my family till the end of time. It doesn't matter if you build a duplex, it's how saturated is that lot going to be. I dislike that so much. I love the water, I'll never let it go, but I moved up to Mexico and bought 13 acres, so I am protected. It will never happen to me again. I fear for what's going to happen to the people on the other end. It shouldn't happen. They've got beautiful little homes down there. That's the lifestyle they want. Like I said, there's no buses. You talk about all these studies you do. Look at the traffic in Baldwinsville. We all know the traffic. All the studies they've done, there is a major traffic problem in Baldwinsville, and we all know it. It might just be rush hour, but it's just extremely disruptive, dangerous. It needs to be dealt with. I don't buy or believe all these studies that are being done. And I like all this calling that Downer Street. Downer Street is more towards the village. That is Route 31. It is a highway, truck transportation, heavy-duty highway. I would want my kids walking up there. I wouldn't want kids on bikes up there. If you're going to put houses up there, they should be minimal. And the development along the other end of the water shouldn't even be happening. Okay, just because you can't do it.
Hi, John Dawson, 13 Lanyard Lake. Two questions to consider. Every question that have been asked tonight, I have to study it. So we don't know if this section of property can support 25 homes. I don't think a change should be made prior to knowing whether the property can hold 25 homes. The other thought is, if he's talking about two-family homes. So now we got 25 homes. We're gonna put 2 families in each home. I think the average family has 2 cars. So we're talking about 100 cars that are gonna be in that small little development. Can this development hold 100 cars? Can Route 31 handle another 100 cars? When you've got buses coming in the morning and you've got 100 cars trying to get out to work, I think that is a bad situation that is gonna develop. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Sharon Stack. I live at 1 Lanyard Lane, and I have a couple of concerns. Our yard backs up to the property that they're talking about. I don't think it should be changed. I haven't heard the answer of how many lots or units would be if we didn't change. The R15 sounds like 25 lots, but I haven't heard a specific answer. One of the board members did ask how many lots would be if it remained an R40, and I didn't hear a straight answer.
I think we can answer that. Jason, would you agree it would be like 11 or 12 lots?
So the R40 is a 40,000 square foot lot. If this is a 12-acre lot, then that would be potentially 12 1-acre lots. And if you put a duplex on each one of those, you're looking at 24 homes.
Okay, so basically half of it went to R15, it could be 25 lots with the potential of 2 units or 2.
Correct.
Okay.
If it stays R40, it would be 12 1-acre lots with the potential of putting a duplex on there.
Okay, so basically.
1 family
Okay.
or a duplex.
My other concern is how much of a buffer, because our yard backs up to that property. We're at 1 Lanyard, so we're on the corner of Lanyard and Kamain.
Okay.
There's a big water problem for at least the first 4 houses going in the yard. Our yard, when we get a lot of snow, it's a pond in the spring. And all the water comes from the wooded area. We've had to put a French drain in at the end of the yard, and it's not as big of a pond, but it is a pond. And I know there's a couple other yards that flood out. Some of the houses have flooded out, and they've had to make changes in it and put French drains in their homes. How do we know, what is the developer going to do for the protection of the people on Lanyard Lane whose yards and homes back up to this property that ensures that we don't get flooded out and we have use of our yard? Because some of that drainage area, we can't even mow the back of our yard till almost June because it's soaking wet. And I'm just not in favor of doing that change. I think they have a right to build, but I think keeping it in R40 would be less of an impact with the number of people that would be living there, cars, sewer, schools, all of that really has to be taken into consideration. And the people who already live there on Lanyard.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Hold on a sec, Tom.
Oh, I can't wait.
I live at the top of Coleman, Kevin Johnson, and I graduated from Baldwin in 1983. And I'd like to thank a lot of my neighbors and friends for coming out tonight. And nothing against you, Dan, but we just don't want the intrusion into our existing life. I've been there 28 years. My mom and dad raised me down the road 60 years ago. And the water problem is coming from Smith Hill. And it's natural spring fed. They'll come down there. I've spent thousands of dollars like the rest of these people trying to get the water out of my property. I'm on well, the only one in our rights. And I'm worried about that intrusion as well. And I don't want to see the two-family home thing. So hopefully you guys can step up for the people. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I don't know if the sound system's working, but
Is it on the top?
I don't think so.
I just did, that's all.
It's on, I'll talk right into it.
I'll try.
I think we can probably hear you.
My name's Tom Rasbeck. I live on 24 Main Road for the last 37 years. Appreciate the opportunity to speak to the board tonight. A couple of points that came up earlier. I was here at the planning board meeting when it was 7-0 to go ahead with the R15. I note that this is the first opportunity that the public has ever had the opportunity to speak anything. They're never allowed to speak at the planning board meetings about that subject. Yes, it was 7-0 with no public input. A lot of the things at this point, all the other speakers have covered my points on my card. Jennifer, my question was, who benefits? And I think we all know most of the answer. The traffic deal, one of the Lysander town councilors made a point not too long ago. Traffic studies are generally very small areas. His point was, and a lot of this is brought about because of Micron. All these people are going to come here and work for Micron and buy homes. All the people that live on this side of Baldwinsville to go in that direction have to go through that 4 corners that's only 2 lanes wide. That's where the traffic needs to be controlled. As far as the R40, R15 question, 25 years ago I stood before this board with a group of people. We were disagreeing with the expansion of Harbor Heights at that point. It didn't do us any good. However, Comain Road, yeah, it was improved. It went from a dead-end street where nobody drove by my house to now it's a main thoroughfare. 30 miles an hour means nothing. So improvements are a double-edged sword. Stop saying, oh, yeah. All right, I'm gonna let this go. Sheila got my best line. Just because something can be done doesn't necessarily mean it should be done. In this case, I would ask you folks, really think about this before you go ahead with this zoning change. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Sure, my wife will tell you I don't need the microphone. My name is Bob Mankin. I live at 3 Lanyard Lane. And some of the questions I had were answered during the presentation, but one that been asked a couple times was not redirected and was not answered during the presentation. My issue with doing the project at all is those of us that live on Lanyard, you can hear the truck traffic, the motorcycle traffic, all that traffic on Downer at night. That's where the several 100-foot tree-lined buffer between there. You take all those trees out, that noise is going to multiply 10 times. But as he was pointing out, he pointed out all the zone changes that were approved. So my guess is whether it's an R40 or the R15, whatever the number is there, this is going to go in. So the one question that was asked by a couple people that was not answered is, for those of us on Lanyard, because I'm on the south side, so I'm up against the woods, how big is that buffer that's going to be there? Because I have a swimming pool. I don't want to be looking out and seeing my neighbor behind me staring at me when I'm in the swimming pool. I don't have to put up an 8-foot privacy fence back there either to do it. So that's the question. How big of a buffer are you talking about to protect those that's on Lanyard from this development going in, which, like I said, didn't point out any ones that you were denied, only pointed out all of the ones that you did. So this will probably go through one way or the other, even if it's the R40, it's still going to put houses there.
Right.
It's just a matter of, is it going to be duplex townhouses like they put off of 690 there as you come down into Beeville?
Right.
Or is it going to be regular houses like everybody else in there? So maybe we can ask that question.
So I'll answer some of that question. Something will be built. He bought the land. He's free to build however he wants. If that was a big issue for you guys, it was for sale. So we can't stop him from buying land and building. We can just make sure it follows the code. As far as how big the buffer is, Jason, maybe you and Nadine can chime in here. I don't think we can tell.
Well, he mentioned putting a buffer in, so what was their idea of a buffer?
I could ask, I'm sure he's going to say he has no idea until he gets to a site plan and creates a drawing or a site plan If you want to answer it, you can answer it, but I'm assuming you have no idea at this point.
Well, it's, obviously we have design constraints that we don't know where
Right.
they are at this moment,
Right.
but we hear you. I mean, we understand that taking the trees down could be problematic, and we want to be a good neighbor, so I will do the best I can. What we've done in other towns, and you may not be aware of this, but I think on this entire parcel right here, I think there's a conservation easement. May have been recorded. I've never really gone back and checked that. But what we could do is once we figure out the final road layout, we can identify, you know, I've seen them as minimum as 15 feet, maybe as deep as 30 feet of a conservation easement. So it's basically a covenant that can't be disturbed.
Okay, thank you.
Hi. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
My name is Kathleen Argus, and I reside at 214 Comaine Road West. We purchased our one floor, now considered a tiny home, 23 years ago. We are aware of the limitations of the location when we purchased. They included us having to do massive renovations, no option to add a garage, a tiny septic system, and our front door being 12 feet from the road. Even with all these limitations, it has worked for us for 23 years because of a small, humble community down on our dirt road. We are the envy of all of our friends and family. Although our biggest concern is our privacy, I'm aware that privacy is not a public policy matter when it comes to private property ownership and development. Your history presentation about Van Buren development did not include any property with a similar ecosystem. So tonight I will direct my concerns towards our environmental concerns. Our ecosystem down on Comaine Road West is very delicate. Our less than 1/4 acre lot is surrounded by pond on one side and river on the other. This impacts our septic system and home foundations. I'm concerned about the water table, lawn chemicals, deforestation, and runoff. The water chestnut issue is a moving target. Fertilizers do expedite the growth of invasive species. I'm concerned about the runoff and the seepage down the hill from the proposed area into the Dead Creek Pond and in the Maloney Island area. I'm concerned about this very special, highly utilized natural area. It is enjoyed by hunters, fishermen, recreational boaters, and swimmers. It is also the home to nesting eagles, osprey, turtles, swimming deer, etc. Just last month, I watched an eagle and osprey fight in the air about a duck. Please keep the Dead Creek Pond and Maloney Island as natural as possible. Thank you.
Good evening.
Testing.
Yeah, thanks for coming in and doing this. All right. You're brave. My name is Tim Morgan, and I've been on Lanyard Lane for 41 years. I'm on the wood side that they want to build on, of course, right? Lucky me. Couple things. I would keep the zoning the way it is if I had the choice. Thank you for your questions. That kind of, I think, opened up a few things that people see what's going to go on here. Leave the zoning the way it is, and Jeff, I think, progress is, we're going to have progress, okay? Progress is good for us, okay? We don't like it, and we don't like change, but change comes, and so does progress. I think this area here behind Lanyard Lane, I don't know if it can take 25 houses. I really don't. That's going to be the concern. I did speak to an engineer about the Army Corps of Engineers checking this for wetlands, and he said the Army Corps of Engineers finds approximately 30 to 35% of the wetlands when they do their checks. In other words, they're missing 65% of them. Jeff, you need to come to my house and have a beer sometime in the early spring and listen to the frogs. There's underground streams where you want to build, and those streams percolate up to, I've been in there for 41 years. I walk in there, and a little surveillance guy is not going to see what I see, and you're going to kill the frogs, all right? So you want to say save the frogs, but that's crazy. I know you want to build, and I get that, and more power to you, that's your job, right? But leave the character of our neighborhood intact. Those are single-family houses. They're not duplexes, and they're not apartments. It's a wonderful place to live, and we'd like to keep it single families and the zoning ways. That's all I got to say. But thank you for showing us this today, I appreciate it.
Anyone else? Come on up. Careful of those cords.
Please.
Okay.
Hi, I'm Andy Stack. I live at 1 Lanyard Lane, right on the corner of Tremaine and Lanyard. And I just want to piggyback on, where's Mike? Mike Myers was up here earlier. He was always talking about what a great community this is. My wife and I moved here in 1996. We raised 2 kids. Through school, we made friends, we made acquaintances. And people would ask us, where do you live? Well, we live in Harbor Heights. Where the hell is that? They didn't even know where it was. And these people were born and raised in Baldwinsville. We moved from Saratoga Springs. And we told them, I said, what's up past McDonald's? Wonder 690. They grow up next time we see them. That's a nice little neighborhood. Where the hell have you been hiding that all these years? I said, I don't know. I just moved here 3 months ago. I don't know what's going on. And to get one other thing, the traffic, my wife and I live right on the corner. We pull out of the development. We don't even go on Tremaine. We go all the way down the end of Lanyard and take the right onto, help me out with that. Thank you. I just want you to help me out here. Because the people that come up that hill of 31, they're in a hurry to get to work. And they're not slowing down. And some of those people that are driving them, they're tractor trailers. They're 18-wheelers. They gotta make deliveries. We don't even go that way because it's just not safe. And you're gonna put 25 more homes in there to and just make traffic even worse? I'm sorry. It's just, there's a lot of things that need to be done, and I agree with construction and I agree with improvement. But can we use a little common sense? Just a little. This is not safe. And we all have kids. I mean, you really want to start attending funerals? I mean, I really don't. And I mean this. I am so against this, I can't even tell you how much I feel about it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I forgot to say, instead of the Army Corps of Engineers, ask the DEC to do a review of that area. That's the way to go, because they'll do a much more thorough job. That'll help Alden know how many houses they can put in there. That won't sink.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
A little bit. You can pop that off if you want.
That's okay. I'm not going to read my whole little speech because you guys have pretty much covered it. I'm Bridget Cowley. I live at 202 Colleen Road West. We have the ones with the pond right in the middle that everybody's dogs love to come play in, go through the ditch, so that's us. Really just a couple highlights. I know Jim Lamont is my partner. He sent an email in that he couldn't be here for work. So just a couple things that I want to hit on. You don't have to change the zoning. Sorry. Just leave it at 40 and let us keep our little neighborhood. Yes. And that's it.
Anyone else wishing to speak? Jeff, come on up.
Jennifer Martinez, and I did not come with any prepared statements at 12 Commodore Circle. So if you look at the map on Commodore Circle, the pump station can be seen from my bedroom window, with the new improvements, I guess. And we back up to what was just woods when we first bought our house in 1997. I certainly appreciate progress. We have lovely neighbors, great friends of my family. But my biggest concern is also the traffic, and it's not just pulling it out onto Route 31, it's pulling from Route 31 onto Kamei, and I have driven by that every day for the past several months, weeks, whatever, but making that right-hand turn, I can't fathom having another road right there, and I have looked at that every single day. They say they could really build 2 rows of homes and a road, and they're going to be able to take off that road and make a left-hand turn onto Kamei as people are waiting to get out onto 31. And the same thing when you come around that corner to turn in, that within just 1 row of houses, you're going to have other cars coming out. So I'm very concerned about the traffic within and on Kamei Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Miller on Kamei Road, and what's the thing?
Regarding this whole zoning change, being that there's 3 phases, I think, to the whole Harbor Heights area, is today's zoning change strictly for phase 1 building, or does this include the 3 phases of the project?
So this is strictly for that one parcel identified in purple.
Phase 1.
Phase 1. Okay. I was just wondering about that. And a lot of people have already, said things of questions and concerns that I had. The biggest thing for us too is the water issue. I mean, it is not even good. We've also had problems with water backup in our house. We've had our whole yard dug up before, only to find out that what was wrong were the pipes. They had nothing to do with me, but it was on the town side. And the town did not fix it because they said it was too expensive to fix it. So with that being said, and then adding more houses, what's that gonna do? I just don't see that handling all of this problem that there is. And the other thing is I don't really know, with the parcel that we're talking about now that goes up to Downer as far as wetlands and stuff like that, are these considered wetlands or not? Because if they are, obviously there's different rules for building on that. And when we're talking about all of these buffers, they're saying, oh, there's gonna be a 100-foot buffer. There's a good possibility they're saying that because they know it's on a wetland, and the wetlands have to have a certain buffer. So it's not like it's doing anybody a favor, and it's not out of the generosity of the builder that they're giving us this buffer thinking we have this green space in between us. There's a very good possibility it's because that's what they have to do. So I guess that is just some things to think about, and if something was to change as far as zoning, there's different ways, different zoning that can be done. Would it be a strict rezoning or would it be conditional? There's conditional rezoning, so that's something else to look into. And I think that's about all I have to say.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak against?
You can't see it, get up there.
I can't see.
Careful of the cords.
Hi, my name is Grace White, and I live at 244 Main Road West. Mr. Barnaba had mentioned that there are other developments around the area that have been rezoned or are zoned in the R15. I don't really know all of that layout of the land, but I don't know if there were existing developments there before they were zoned as an R15, so I don't know if that's taken into consideration. Was it a rezone or it was just land that they had purchased and were able to do it that way? I appreciate that Mr. Barnaba owns that property now, and that's what our world is about. That's what we can do. One of the things that I do worry about, or I don't appreciate, I guess, I don't like feeling blackmailed. Mr. Barnaba made a statement of, I could sell that property and it could be commercially zoned. I don't like that. I understand he doesn't know what's going to happen. He has to develop it. Things pop up. It's just like when you rip a wall out of your house. Things pop up. Appreciate it. But I just feel like we have no answers. Everything is ambiguous. He also mentioned that if we go with the R15, we could have, is it 2-family? So he mentioned, well, it's going to be a 1 owner, but they could rent that out. I don't like that. I think that becomes a transient population, and I worry about that because I don't really know that families are in a position to buy a $400,000 home to put their parent in, or I don't know. I just didn't appreciate the emotional blackmail, and I just wanted to say that I'm okay with progress, but I prefer to leave it as an R40 because I feel like it's less density. I feel like if there's a duplex, it's 2 families, they own it, there's more responsibility, more onus, and I also appreciate the wildlife that we have there, and I know that people go in and they take things out because they have to build. I like that area. I like to have trees. I would appreciate it if we could have some concrete discussions about what can we do. What does a berm look like? What type of planting is he talking about? I understand we won't know particulars, but if we had some more general ideas,
folks might be a little more amenable to that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Dan.
So I need to respond for the record that I was accused of being blackmailing. I'm going to answer the question from the board. The board asked if we didn't get the zone change, what would we do? I reiterated on several occasions, I built houses, I built neighborhoods, I made that clear. I suggested that it's not uncommon when you don't get a zone change that people might reach out to you and make other suggestions. As far as I know, maybe the town would prefer commercial there, I don't know. That's not what I do. So if it is going to be commercial, if somebody wanted commercial use there, it wouldn't be with Elder Homes, it would be with another company. But I didn't intend to blackmail anybody, and I think that was out of bounds.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Kathy Lamont, I live at 146 Colmain Road. I agree with so many of the sentiments that people mentioned tonight. There are many detriments. I don't recall any positives for any of us who live in the community. I think everybody's just looking for balance. We know that we can't stop the change. Keeping it at R40 keeps low density. It keeps less people coming through the community, less cars. I mean, the car thing is a nightmare, anyone, everybody knows. So we're looking for balance. I would think that everybody would appreciate some sort of balance. The only benefit sways now, I believe, to Mr. Barnaba in profit. He builds, he sells, and moves on. He's motivated, I would think, to do well in phase one because phase two and whatever is coming. There aren't clear answers because I'm sure he can't give clear answers in terms of how many lots, how he's going to protect sound. But more reason to leave it at R40, I would think. Less is best here. Too many people, too many possibilities with two-family versus duplex, rental versus ownership. You know, I'm thinking patio home. Those are owned, two people. It's not multitudes of people. Yes, 100 cars is nuts to try to come out of Colmain Road. There's no way 100 cars are going to come in and out of Colmain Road without problems, accidents. I heard that there's, in the next phase, a light being proposed up further west, and that also sounds nightmarish. And I don't think it should also take 100 more cars to have lights down at 690. People are doing traffic studies. I've heard that there's a possibility of lights coming in down there to help with this. We need that even without this. I think the increased population and the density is bad. I see detriment. I see no bonus for any of us. I see all that going toward the developer. We're looking for balance, I think. So keeping it at R40 helps us with that balance. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak? Okay. I'm sorry if everyone's hot. It's really stuffy in here. I'm like, sorry.
Good evening, neighbors and town council. On my way here tonight, I had no preference of getting up here to speak. My name is Gina Kumi. I live at 20 Colmain Road. When we moved in, it was a quiet little neighborhood that was wooded. Our children play in the streets. We didn't have to sit outside with them to make sure a speeding car or several cars was driving up Colmain Road or down Colmain Road through the four-way stop that is already there to help prevent that. Adding more people, houses, cars, pollution, taking away our greenlands, this just isn't the right area. I know you're in a business,
and you need to make money, just like all of us do, going to work, I enjoy driving out my driveways, not being behind 10 cars to go through a stop sign, to get up to the next stop sign, to turn onto 31, that's always busy. Put a traffic light in, it's still going to be busy. Adding more roads is going to just make more congestion in our small neighborhood. A lot of the people here have lived in this neighborhood for 20 years plus. The original Harbor Heights had to be accepting of the newer Harbor Heights and our park. Yes, it's wonderful. Thank you. We vote every election year for you. You put your signs in our yards for the town of Van Buren to vote for you to protect us. Just please keep our neighborhood the way it is. There's plenty of other areas that are not already populated that you can build on. And every builder can build on. And I know the builder that you're working with. So please, just keep the zoning the way it is.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak?
I want to say one more thing.
Sure.
I just want to put us all the plan. Everybody's busy, got kids at school and sports, and everybody's working 2 or 3 jobs today. But I just wondered, how come I never see anything like a survey that's asking, I put this online one time, the 3 towns, because we have to coexist, Lysander, the village, and Van Buren. Why isn't that a survey where people have input? What do you envision for this area? Because I don't see that happening. We are getting congested. We don't have any fruitful businesses. Businesses are going under. We got to get together. What is it we want to see out here? Because it certainly isn't just more houses. It really isn't more houses. I don't know if somebody can put that together, but.
So I will comment just a little bit on that. We actually, before today's meeting at 5:30, we had a land use committee meeting where we're kicking off updating our comprehensive land use plan because it's over 20 years old.
I saw it. I looked at it last night.
So that was one of the things on the agenda that I wanted to announce. We're going to award the bid. And as that progresses, we are going to be asking for community residents to be a part of that. Now, obviously, we can't have 100 people involved, but we can solicit any suggestions that anyone wants. And if anyone's interested in really sitting through those meetings and contributing, it will be open to the public, and there'll be more on that coming forward. But we are kicking it out. Today was the kickoff.
Like a committee, though, if you had a survey, just a survey, what is it you want? What is it you think that we need? Get everybody's input.
Go ahead, Nadine.
So I will share that typically in that master plan, comprehensive plan, different municipalities call them different things. As part of that, there's the committee that the supervisor spoke of, but they often do surveys and they circulate them. Usually it's throughout the town or in different areas on what people want, and they get that feedback, and they do it through a survey form. Well, if it's been 20 years.
Yeah, I think the last one was, it was 2000.
Well, it depends on who the consultant is, but that's normally what they do.
Well, we could also request them to do that.
But that's typically part of that process, because what the comprehensive plan wants to do is say, in what areas of the town do we want what to occur, right? How do we foresee development in this particular area? Where do we want growth? Where do we want high density? Where do we want to preserve ag? So that's all part of that.
Yeah, I think people want to keep this low density and more rural, okay? Okay. Yeah, we need some urban areas, but I don't think this is the neighborhood to do that.
Thank you. Is there anyone else wishing to speak against? I feel like everyone spoke. Okay, so I did get some written comments. I just want to take an opportunity to read these so it's in the minutes, and then I think we'll take a minute to talk and go from there. So I did get an email from Jim Lamanna. He lives at 202 Comaine Road West. The purpose of this email is to voice opposition to the proposed rezoning of the property in Harbor Heights area. My work travel schedule prevents attendance to the upcoming public hearing. As representatives of the residents and property owners in our town, elected officials have the difficult of making decisions that are mutually beneficial to all affected entities, which include landowners wishing to develop, the town population as a whole, and the owners of the properties that either border or are immediately impacted by the development. In this instance, the rezoning the properties in question, the residents holding properties that border the development in question, as well as the residents holding property in the immediate will experience detriment. Increased population increases traffic, lends itself to more crime and/or vandalism, removes green space, adds pollution, increases noise, removes privacy, and generally takes away much of the reasons that many have chosen this area to reside. For landowners wishing to develop, the benefit to rezoning is profit. And for our town overall, you are in the best to know what the benefits are, if any. However, it's very apparent that dividing the potential gain for additional tax revenues across all residents of our town, Van Buren, does not arrive anywhere near the potential for the developer. The result of this is that rezoning will not generate a balanced result for all properties. Also, by area, the majority of the property of the town of Van Buren is zoned AR 80, followed by R40 as seen in the attached zone map. With the understanding that growth is necessary, I am only in support of controlled growth. Rezoning for the purpose of profit is not controlled growth, and our town can grow and maintain consistent to the zoning that has supported it. The opportunity exists for the property in question to be developed under current zoning, which minimizes the detriment to the owners and residents of the bordering properties, minimize the detriment to the owners and residents of the property in the immediate area, and allows the owner of the property to question to develop. Thank you. An email from Gail Baker. She lives on Kid Cove. We've lived on Kid Cove since 1987. We are disappointed with the first expansion of Harbor Heights wooded area down to the Seneca River. Clear cutting of all the trees and foliage was devastating to the peace, clean air, and tranquility of our neighborhood. The same builder would like to finish off the area of trees and open land. Adding more houses will undoubtedly create a dangerous traffic pattern exiting and entering Harbor Heights. Adding multiple dwelling houses will destroy the comfort and integrity of family living. Possible rental units of multiple units will bring people without interest in a sense of belonging to a neighborhood. Please vote no. And one more. Maria Danielle White on 8 Buccaneer Bend. Homeowners are opposed to any new development that is proposed near us behind Lanyard Lane. Reasons. Lanyard always floods in thawing snow, heavy rains. There are many bends in the neighborhood, and the town of Van Buren will not put in speed bumps, so more traffic through the neighborhood is dangerous. The aesthetics of Harbor Heights is dwindling with these additions of property. We like our nature and aesthetics of the neighborhood. The schools are already full. Teachers are co-teaching in classrooms, meaning they split their time between 2 classes. On Southgate, the turn on Downer is very long wait just to leave the neighborhood. We don't need the extra traffic. Intersection of highway is hard to get on and off highway due to the traffic flow. Many other areas to build in do not allow a builder to crunch in homes in our community just for money. This is our investment. The builder can move on. Okay, so can I get a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Jenny. Seconded by Bob. Any questions or comments? I will just mention, we were not going to vote tonight because we're waiting on county comments because this was a zone request change. We had to refer it down to county planning. They meet today, so we did not expect their comments back, but we have them back. They gave a their comments were the Onondaga Planning Board has determined that this referral will have no significant adverse intercommunity or countywide impact and may consequently be added on solely by the referring board. So their comments gave no impact. I will note that they did mention on here that part of the mapping does show that this site may contain the bald eagle and its associated habitat, which has been listed by the state or federal government as a threatened or endangered animal species. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The public hearing is now closed. Does the board wish to vote on this matter tonight? Yes.
I wanted to reiterate something, if you don't mind. Your engineer pointed it out. Some of the concerns I heard were pre-existing conditions. I heard the traffic is already a problem, drainage is already a problem. We didn't contribute to those. R40 would allow as many as 24 residences in there. If it's 12 acres, we could get as many as 24 residents in there. The only wild card is the two-family issue. That can be discussed at any time. We can discuss it tonight, we can discuss it at a future meeting, whether it's allowed. We actually believe we're providing a benefit that residents in your community don't have. If they have an aging parent and they don't want to put them in a nursing home and they want to put them in a house like this, as far as whether there's any rentals in there, you could no more prohibit anybody with an existing home from renting their home. I don't know if you have that type of ordinance. So we don't build rentals. I've never built a rental. It wasn't my intention. The true intention was that two families was perhaps, I gave an example of how it could be a rental for a young couple, but what I had in mind originally, we're doing this in the town of Salina, was that somebody who's got an aging parent, that they have their own portion of the house, or an adult child that might be with them for life. But we could get the same number of residents if it's not two-family, it'd be 12 duplexes on either property. And that's what would happen. And if we work at it together, we can try to address any issues that are brought to our attention. We obviously don't want to do the land development in a way that would exacerbate any problems.
But you've already said you're not going to build all the properties.
Right.
Well, I'm the developer, so anybody who I sell lots to would have to live with the restrictions I put on the sales. So if I want to put covenants on the property, I could. If I want to put covenants on the deeds to the lots I sell, I could.
There's existing covenants in Harbor Heights already.
So when we develop land, we add covenants on the parcels on a section-by-section basis. So I'm sure that when we develop the back section, we had some deed covenants, and I don't know what the existing covenants in the other sections are. So we could do something like put a, and again, I can't speak to the legality of some of that. We can try to put a covenant on it, whether we can enforce it or not. I don't know if I can put a covenant that prohibits renting a home. I'd have to defer to your town attorney on that.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion?
So, just to be clear, the motion for...
I'm asking for a motion.
Motion for what?
For the local law that's before you?
Correct.
Okay, so, if I just speak for a second?
Sure.
Please.
Okay. Town attorney Nadine Bell, for those of you who haven't been to a town meeting previously. So the board has a local law before it. You have properly referred it to county planning for 239 review, which if the board hadn't received it by tonight, they would not be able to take action. It would be jurisdictionally defective. So you have that. You've also referred it to your town, excuse me, your town planning board. You have that referral back. What you have the choice tonight, I know I had just very generally kind of tried to figure out from the board which way you were going. And frankly, a lot depended upon the presentation this evening and what the public's concerns were. So not knowing which way the board was going to go, I have prepared two different resolutions. One that is a resolution to approve the proposed local law, or adopt is the better language, and the other one is to deny the request for the zone change. So there are both before you. Either can be acted on. Obviously, if the board does not have to be unanimous, so whichever resolution the board would like to put forth. If you don't agree, you just obviously vote nay or no. So the board could do, before trying to just figure it out, you could do just a straw vote to see which resolution board members would prefer to have read. And I'm more than happy to read the whole resolution into the record based upon just an informal straw vote.
Okay, I think that's the best way to go. Just do a straw vote and then we'll proceed from there.
Yeah.
Well, and just very generally for board members, we don't even have to do anything as formal as an informal straw vote. If the board members want to give me any idea that if you'd like me to read the local law, or excuse me, the resolution enacting it, fine. If you guys say, no, Nadine, read the resolution denying the local law, I can go forward.
Okay, so, I mean, we know what we're doing. We have this before us. Does someone want to make a motion for this one, or does someone want to make a motion for this one?
Oh, and I should also add option 3. As our town engineer pointed out, you can always table it if that's what you want to do. We don't have one board member here tonight. I don't know what your next board meeting might hold for membership. So that is your third option, though, just in full disclosure.
Okay, great. You have the 2 resolutions before you. Does someone want to make a motion for either of them and put it out for a vote?
I think at this point, I would make the motion to deny.
I second.
So, wait, we're not gonna actually second and make that. I will read it, okay, and then you can...
Then you can vote on it.
Then
Okay.
Bob at the end can say, I will make the motion she just read, and then...
I can second it then?
You can second it then.
All right.
Okay. So, and again, I'm sorry everybody, I'm on week 5 of getting over a cold, so I got a cough drop in my mouth. Bear with me. Whereas, pursuant to the provisions of Municipal Home Rule Law, a proposed local law titled Local Law Number F of 2024, titled a local law amending the zoning map of the town of Van Buren to change the zoning designation for certain property from being zoned Residence District 40, R40, to being zoned Residence District 15, R15, in the town of Van Buren was presented and introduced at a regular meeting of the town board of the town of Van Buren held on December 18, 2024. And whereas a public hearing was held on such proposed local law on the 15th day of January 2025 by the town board of the town of Van Buren, and proof of publication of notice of such public hearing as required by law having been submitted and filed, and all persons desiring to be heard in connection with said proposed local law having been heard, and said proposed local law having been in the possession of the members of the town board of the town of Van Buren in its final form in the manner required by Section 20 of the Municipal Home Rule Law of the State of New York. And whereas the enactment of proposed local law number F of 2024 has previously been determined to be an unlisted action, and the town board declared itself as lead agency for purposes of completing its environmental review pursuant to the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR. And whereas this proposed local law was duly referred to the excuse me, Onondaga County Planning Board for review pursuant to General Municipal Law Section 239, and by Resolution Z 2511, the Onondaga County Planning Board concluded that the referral will have no significant adverse inter-community or county-wide implications and may be acted on solely by the referring board. And whereas the town board did further refer the request for a zone change to the Town of Van Buren Planning Board Zoning Board of Appeals for an advisory opinion, and by resolution dated November 12, 2024, the Planning Board did render a positive recommendation to change the zoning designation from Residence District 40, R40, to Residence District 15, R15, with a further recommendation that such plan cluster the residential development. And whereas upon consideration of the information submitted and the public comment received, it is not in the public interest to enact said proposed local law number F of 2024. Now therefore, it is resolved and determined that the Town of Van Buren Town Board has determined this action as an unlisted action, and having reviewed the short environmental assessment form, that an environmental impact statement shall not be required, and that this resolution shall constitute a negative declaration under SEQR. And it is further resolved and determined that the Town of Van Buren Town Board does determine that it is not in the interest of the public to enact proposed local law number F of 2024. Accordingly, the town board does hereby deny the zone change request application submitted by Alden Homes Incorporated, requesting to change the zoning designation of property on Downer Street Road, known as tax map number 036-03-21-0, from being zoned Residence District 40, R40, to Residence District 15, R15. That would be the motion for somebody to make. That was Councilor Grover, correct?
Correct.
And the second?
Second.
Councilor Sullivan. Because it is a local law, it does require a roll call vote, and I will refer to your town clerk.
Mr. Burke?
No.
Mr.
No, whoa. This is a resolution to deny, so I just want to make sure you understand what you're voting.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Hand?
Yes.
Mr. Grover?
Yes.
Mrs. Sullivan?
Yes.
Mrs. Vanderwater?
Yes. The foregoing resolution has thereupon declared duly adopted, and the zone change request has been denied. We're going to continue with our board meeting. You guys don't have to stay, but I did tell you, once you come once, you have to come to every single one. So everyone, we'll see you in 2 weeks. If you guys want to take a minute to leave, or if you want to stay, you're welcome to, but I'm going to give you a minute to check out, and then we'll keep going.
Probably not gonna die. I apologize for
No restrictions.
I asked the doctor again yesterday.
Okay, I think we can get back to a regular board meeting. There are no vouchers to approve, so we can skip over number 1. There are no budgets to approve, so we can skip over number 2. We will jump down to number 4. Can I get a motion to approve the salary increase of the code enforcement officer?
Hey, folks, can you take it outside, please, so we can continue our meeting? Sorry, Supervisor.
Our code enforcement officer from $40 an hour to $45 an hour part-time, effective January 1, 2025.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mike, seconded by Roger. I will just comment that this was left off of our organizational meeting and should have been included, so this is kind of a housekeeping item here. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any opposed? Motion passes. I have a penciled in number 5. Can I get a motion to increase the amount of the monies from the Highway Capital Reserve account to purchase the highway equipment, which
Would you like some help?
I just can't remember. Hold on.
Okay, so there was a...
due to the increase in the purchase price, we had previously done a permissive referendum on, hold on. 10/8/23 for the amount of $140,802. Yep. And the invoice came in, and it is $161,119. And again, this will be subject to permissive referendum, and our clerk will post accordingly. Can I get a motion?
Make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Roger, or Bob, seconded by Roger. Any other additional comments? So, Dave, do you have anything you want to speak to it? The truck is ready to take...
The truck should be ready, thank you. We're hoping by Friday possibly.
Okay, and we just need to get it paid.
They're just going over the logistics, or their inspection of it, and then we should receive it.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Penciled in number 6 is similar. Can I get a motion to increase the amount of monies from the Highway Capital Reserve account to purchase to increase the purchase amount of the 10-wheel dump with the Henderson plow? This was, nope, hold on, wrong one. This was the F550.
Yes.
This was previously approved in March 2024 for the amount of $98,205.83. This truck has arrived, and the amount of the truck is $108,467.83. It was determined that they added on, per the prior highway superintendent's request, wing plow to it, and that is what increased the price. So again, this is subject to permissive referendum, and our clerk will post, but can I get a motion to increase that amount?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Roger, seconded by Mike. Any other questions or comments? You want to speak to that one? No? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. So as indicated earlier, Land Use Committee met. We are going to kick off our revision of the comprehensive land use plan. We received some proposals, and we are ready to accept a proposal. So can I get a motion to accept a proposal for consulting for our comprehensive land use plan from Barton & LaJudas, and authorize the supervisor to execute any and all documents to allow Barton & LaJudas to serve in the consulting capacity for this project.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Okay. First by Jenny, seconded by Bob. Any other comments?
I'm getting excited to start this project.
Yes, we've kind of been waiting for these to come in. They finally came in. It was a hard decision to figure which one we wanted to pick, but we really did a thorough review, and I think Barton & LaJudas was the clear winner here. So yeah, I'm excited too. Any other comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Moving on to councilor and committee reports. Mike.
The safety committee met at the highway department on the 13th, and we just discussed future plans for the highway department. There wasn't any immediate action items that were planned, but we've got a few projects that we're probably going to flush out in the next few weeks. That's it.
Okay, great. Roger.
I just want to say we're doing well with the new computer systems that we're putting in, and the phone systems. We're really excited about that.
It's a lot of moving parts, but... Jenny?
I have two things. One, I have a facilities meeting on January 23rd at 3 p.m. at the Van Buren Park. And also just wanted to bring attention to an employment opportunity. There is a senior recreation leader position available at Kenwoods, and for those interested, they can visit the Village of Baldwinsville's website and find out how they can apply. And that's it.
Thank you. Bob.
The only thing I wanted to do was speak on behalf of the public safety. We did have our meeting. At that point, we are making the chair Mr. Burke. So congratulations, and
thanks, Bob.
We'll see what we can do with the highway department. And that's it tonight.
Supervisor comments, just a couple things. I also wanted to reiterate that we are going through the process of upgrading our computers. They're about halfway through. They're coming back on Friday to kind of finish it up, and as we're doing that, we are upgrading our emails from .com to .gov. So that's been a little bit of a process. Some emails are working, some are not. So bear with us if you're sending emails and not getting any responses.
Anybody that's emailing us, still send it to the .com address. They will get to all of us still. Not everybody's up on the .gov yet.
And we're also upgrading our phone system. So a lot of moving parts all happening at one time, so bear with us. We will put information up on the website as needed. So if you're not getting through to us, call or email or call Dave.
Sure.
I wanted to just review, our codes department forwarded their monthly report for January. Oh my God, Tim, I can't even see you back there. You're still here.
Oh, yeah. We're here.
This report is from January 1st to January 15th. One building permit was issued, one demolition permit was issued, 48 inspections were performed, 4 annual fire inspections were performed, 3 re-inspections, 17 violations were issued, 1 appearance ticket was issued, 31 certificate of compliance were issued, 19 C of Os, 1 temporary C of O, 23 complaints were received and investigated, and the total permit fees received was $612, and the total value of all projects was $14,000. So great job to our codes office. You guys do a phenomenal job, and we thank you so much. The other thing I wanted to mention was I received a letter from the Department of Transportation. Back in September, we had sent a request in for a speed reduction from the town of Van Buren, starting at Pottery Road, going down to the town of Camillus town line. For a request for the zone change. Now I'm reading this again. We requested it to be lowered to 35. They agreed to lower it to 45, or to 40, sorry. So not exactly where we wanted it, but it is a reduction and we'll take it. So happy to hear this. I will let the resident know who requested the zone change that it went, or the speed zone change, that it was approved. And Dave, when I get the formal resolution from New York State, I'll let you know so you can change those speed signs. And I think that is everything. Hold on. Yep, that's everything I have. Highway Superintendent, you are up.
No comments, thank you.
Doing a great job on the roads, thank you.
Yes.
You guys
Let
are
you guys know.
doing a great job.
Especially up there in Perry.
No, the highway guys are doing an amazing job.
Engineer,
I have no comments this evening.
town attorney. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Motion made by Bob, seconded by Mike. Any comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting is adjourned. Thank you.